Once you sort of understand your themes, it takes you through these exercises, but it's a very easy to use book. And what it allows you to do is really be able to talk about yourself. I'm, innovative and I like to, help companies move change, or I'm collaborative and I like to form this, or that. So, you need to begin to really understand how to talk about yourself. And then once you sort of understand that and are really comfortable with that, then you need to really think hard about how you would bring value to a company. I am really good at managing projects, keeping people on time and getting to a deliverable. I mean, this is what clients and potential clients want to hear. They want to understand as a consultant, what are you going to come in and be able to do very quickly for me? A consultant, sort of an underlying theme for all consulting is you're a problem solver. They've brought you in to solve something that isn't fixed right now, and they want someone to come in with an outside perspective who's seasoned. So, I think I use the word seasoned in kind of quotes because really a consultant does have to have some experience. A couple of years, or maybe 2 years ago, I was on a panel up here, and there was a room full of maybe seniors or just, but this room, they wanted to be consultants. And we asked why, and they said, because I like the flexibility, I like to fix things, I want to travel, I want to move in and out of companies. And that's wonderful, but in the back of my mind, I'm like, still need a few years of actually working for someone to pull you in. So, they are looking, for consulting projects, you do need to have some kind of background or experience. Sometimes it doesn't need to be that lengthy, but you do need to have done it. So, in my role, I'm putting seasoned professionals into companies, mostly medium to large size companies, and the other thing they're looking for is someone who can work very independently. Because a lot of times, again, you've walked into a company, there's crisis, there's confusion, they want you because of your expertise, but then they're on a plane and they're gone for 2 weeks. So you need to be able to sort of proactively manage yourself, work independently. So those are some of sort of the characteristics that I think make a good consultant. And the other thing I would say about the consulting career as a whole is adaptability and flexibility. And I would talk about that when you are sort of positioning yourself for projects, because you will walk into a situation and they'll say, oh my God, I love your background in market research. I want you to look through all this customer data. I haven't had time. Could you please look at this for me? And then all of a sudden, he'll say, oh my God, I have a presentation for the president. Will you help me do that presentation? And so, sometimes it's just sort of being there, being this sort of credible right-hand person for them that sort of helps you to continue to build the trust and credibility with that client. A lot of times you'll walk into a consulting project and it might be something a little beneath sort of your skill set. Maybe you did that 5 years ago in your career, like look through some data and pull reports. But I would encourage you to take that project, because a lot of sort of the consulting sort of continuum is coming into a client or an organization, building trust and credibility. You've helped them on one deliverable, one crisis, one project, and that will, then they'll turn to you and say, now I have something bigger, can you help me now? That was great. And so many of my consultants, my clients will say, I just need this type of person for 1 month. 3 years later, they're still there because they've built the credibility and trust within our organization. So I think, the consulting world as a whole, I absolutely believe this is where the future is moving. I was just at our company's annual meeting, and what we're seeing now, the trend is there was so much over firing that now they're coming back because companies just went through these massive layoffs. But the reality is they still have projects and issues and things that have to get done. And then they realize, oh my gosh, I've just decimated my whole finance team, but I still have a quarterly close. Who's going to do it? So I think you'll see this. I think we're in just a sort of small window here right now, but things will start to turn, and people will need to sort of reinvigorate their workforces. And again, I think the consulting model is going to be a very powerful model moving forward.
Just listening to our first two speakers, it really made me realize I knew this was going to happen, but I think there's quite a bit of overlap between all of our different areas of focus. But when I was initially asked to do this, and given this subject matter, how to stand out in the crowd and stay relevant in your current job, it really stumped me. Not that there's there's not a lot to say about it, but it's such a broad subject, and it's so individualized to each person depending on where they are, what they're doing, where they are in their career. And I spent a lot of time thinking about it from an individual performance standpoint. Just listening to our first two speakers, it really made me realize I knew this was going to happen, but I think there's quite a bit of overlap between all of our different areas of focus. But when I was initially asked to do this, and given this subject matter, how to stand out in the crowd and stay relevant in your current job, it really stumped me. Not that there's there's not a lot to say about it, but it's such a broad subject, and it's so individualized to each person depending on where they are, what they're doing, where they are in their career. And I spent a lot of time thinking about it from an individual performance standpoint of what do you do to stay relevant? What do you do to stand out within your current organization? What do you do from things like taking on additional additional responsibilities? Seeing where you can help out in different areas outside of perhaps your assigned area of responsibility. And doing the things that you need to do from a performance perspective, and the things that are expected of you from a performance perspective. And I'm sure that we'll spend plenty of time talking about those things in the Q&A. But once you take a step back and you think about staying relevant from a career perspective, or standing out in the crowd from a career perspective, I keep on coming back to a conversation that I have in what I do quite often, and I think a lot more often than I ever expected. Usually it's within the context of talking to a candidate who was not necessarily the successful candidate for a position we're seeking to fill. And once you get out of that relationship where they're trying to sort of sell themselves and package themselves, it really provides a clearing to have a larger conversation of about their career and what it is they enjoy about what they do, what it is they actually do, and then to be able to ask the question, what does your ideal job or what does your ideal position look like? And it's an incredible experience, because very often people are able to take a step back, and they've never been asked that question. They've never asked that question of themselves. They've never had anybody ask that question of them. And it's amazing the different answers you get. And it's amazing how different those positions are from the position they were either seeking through our firm, or looking at their career, how their career is panned out. I think that is something in terms of staying relevant in your career and staying and standing out from the crowd is very important. And to think about this and look at this as a more reflective exercise, to really be able to take a step back and to almost create a Venn diagram. I mean, if you look at anybody's career, you have what you're qualified to do. Then you have a circle of what you really enjoy doing, and then you have another circle of what you feel you're really good at. And to really be able to deconstruct your experiences and deconstruct each one of those and unpack your career and start to focus on yourself in terms of, am I really putting myself in a position to do more of the things I really enjoy doing within the context of my current role?